Good evening, everyone, and welcome to ASW Town Hall. I'm Mr. Zurfluh, John Zurfluh, your director, and so good to be here with you. Happy New Year, everybody. We're all back after a wonderful long holiday. I hope all of your travels, or if you hunkered down at home, all of your time with family and friends was tremendously rewarding to you. It certainly was for me. My family got together in Guangzhou, China for the first time in 4 years, and it was really nice to reconnect after that long period of time. So I hope all had enriching experiences like that have refreshed and renewed you for the next part of the school year coming up. We have an agenda tonight that has some special guests here, but I want to bring on first Sarah Kyle, the board chair, says we have a couple of items up front. And Sarah, welcome, and I'll bring the slides on stage with us as well. But how are you doing? And
thank you so much. Happy New Year, everyone. It's really good to be back in the swing of things and to have the kids back at school and excited and challenged again. So, yeah.
And it absolutely has been wonderful these first couple of days with everybody trundling back in, despite the chilly weather that is keeping lots of coats in play here. But it's actually quite beautiful out too, and crisp, and I think the kids have settled in marvelously. We always start with school mission, and we just want to remind everybody of that always. So it's always in the backdrop. We are determined to be a community that changes the world for the better. And I just want to make a quick note that we've got new families coming in. So we'll be looking forward to welcoming them very shortly. As I said in e-notes tonight, they'll be trickling in over the next couple of weeks, but certainly before the beginning of the new semester coming up on later this month. So be ready to share the school mission and our core values with them as they arrive and make them feel like welcome members of our family. It's going to be really exciting to see those 30 plus faces show up over the next few weeks. I want to just remind everybody that you can post your comments on Facebook. You can post it to the video stream there on the side, and we'll see it here and we'll pay attention to it. That's where your questions and such can go. YouTube, you can do the same if you're out there watching on YouTube. Twitter says they've started doing that, but I don't know exactly how to facilitate that for you. And just as a backup, I've got my phone here, and you can text me at the number that's on your screen. And I'm happy to take your comments there, and I'll push them forward to the group as we go through the evening. And then after, just a reminder, we have info@aswarsaw.org where you can send any questions after the event. And we're always actively monitoring that channel and answering those questions as they come in. So that's a key channel for us, particularly related to construction and renovation issues, but also related to any matters where you want, you're not sure exactly who to go to. This is the place to go, and we can get your questions answered for you. With that, Sarah, I'll hand it to you, and let's give them the quick update on board happenings here in the last few days and our messaging.
Absolutely. So I just wanted to take a few minutes, and I know that most of you, I hope, have been able to read the messaging that went out yesterday about both Director Zurfluh's planned retirement in 2025 and also some decisions based around Jane Foster's report. I want to spend a little bit of time on that. The main points, as you see on the screen here, are sort of the plan that the board is putting forth to address those main findings. Now, I know some of you are interested in seeing more about what is in those main findings, and I had explained that we wouldn't be releasing the confidential report, but a synopsis of it. I am happy to talk with you more about. This isn't really the right venue for that, so we were hoping to have a in-person meeting where the board members can come and we can have copies of the synopsis to go over some of the points, some of the findings, and to elaborate a little more based on the major findings and broad themes, which, just to remind you, were leadership concerns, construction concerns, HR hiring concerns, and communication and workload concerns, with some education concerns from parents thrown in there. So I just wanted to draw your attention, though, to the main points in our plan in moving forward. We are the board has spent a lot of time working and developing this plan moving forward, and you'll see some dates here. We started already, quite frankly, and we will be continuing throughout this month, and then starting in February, March, and so on. We are looking for community involvement, for parent involvement in a lot of these initiatives. We have the focus groups set up. We're looking for any community members who would like to participate in committee work. A lot of our committee work will be looking at some HR policy and procedures, some handbooks and documents and things like that. And we welcome anyone who's interested in joining us in this really important work. John, if you go to the next slide, this QR code will take you to a sign-up form where it lists the various initiatives that you can be a part of. And they are the focus groups and an interest in being on in committee work, in the governance committee, which handles a lot of the policy review and revision, and also the monitoring and risk management committee, which really is kind of working with like the construction and the issues surrounding that. Of course, also on this form, as you read from Director Zerflu's email yesterday, is he will be retiring, and that has initiated or started a director search. The request for proposal for the group that will be working with us to help us select a new director, that has already gone out. This process starts now. This process takes quite a bit of time, and we need to start now. And in looking at that whole process, we are going to be forming a director search committee. This is another area where we would welcome community involvement and community interest and participation, because we want all voices heard as we search for a new director to take over the leadership of the school in the school year starting 2025. So I hope that you're able to get into this form here. If you have trouble, please let me know. We can send it out via a link as well. And
actually, we have. So just so we remind everybody that in the letter yesterday, it's the same link. So the QR code is just one other way of getting it to you, but it was in the letter yesterday. So please feel free to click on those links in Sarah's letter, and you'll be able to get to this form as well.
Yes. So I look forward to seeing signups in there. And again, we will be having an in-person meeting for those interested in delving a little more into some of the findings. So with that, if anyone has any questions, they can pop them up on the screen here. If not.
Not seeing anything pop up right now, but I'll just reiterate that we've been articulating the search process. It's well established in board policy in terms of the selection of a consultant, the formation of the committee, and ultimately a very stakeholder involved process. So once the committee gets into the process, there will be all aspects of stakeholders throughout the school that will be involved in that selection process. It'll be gleaning of candidates, initial interviews, and then ultimately you can expect that finalists will be visiting campus and meeting with different stakeholder groups and ultimately bringing that to you. So in terms of who will be hiring the new director, Sarah, do you want to speak to that? I mean, it's the board's responsibility. So
it is the board's responsibility ultimately to make the decision, the final decision. But as John said, it is a multi-stakeholder approach. The committee participates in the search with the consultant team that helps us, find good candidates for the position. The final candidates will be coming to the school. They will meet with many constituents. And of course, we will take everyone's feedback in making that final decision. But it is the board who makes that final decision of the new director.
Yeah. We do have a question about Mr. Sheehan. We expect Mr. Sheehan back in short order. I think the word right before we came back from break is there was some additional appointments that had to be completed. But we do expect Mr. Sheehan back anytime. I'm sorry we can't give you a specific date. We're waiting for that from him. But we've been in contact with him, and we do expect his return. So echoing the point here of magnificent principal, medical leave, I agree with you that it should be date certain, but it was Mr. Sheehan that gave us additional information. And so we're waiting on him to certify the date that he'll be back with us. Hope that answers that question, but it definitely has been there. I'm not sure how to answer the question about upper school B general director. We have an upper school principal structure with 2 vice principals. So I don't know how to answer that other than that's the current structure. Knows the school and community. Again, I'm not sure what you're asking about there. So again, apologies if I can't really get at that question. And then Avi, hope to see him back with our children soon, as do we all. So thank you for that. And thank you for your comments. Again, we are right on track here. You saw in e-notes tonight that we announced the resignation of Mr. Lennon. So we're actively looking at what happens at the end of January and how we will cover that position. That'll be a new strategy now, but we have current coverage in place that was already working well with students. So we'll continue that on until we have the second plan. We should be able to announce something on that next week. Okay. All right. Well, Sarah, thank you for being here tonight and for introducing this and getting us ready for this busy season. We should also, Sarah, before we forget, we should also mention it's going to be appointment and election season for board members coming up very quickly here.
Thank you.
Government is meeting tomorrow, I think, to discuss this to some extent.
Absolutely.
And so
we are looking for candidates who would like to join us in this work on the board. Please, if you're interested, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I can provide you with all the information that you need to put in an application to serve on the board. We're happy to have community involvement. So,
and in e-notes tonight, you'll find 2 links. One for signing up for aspiring board member training that will be next week. We've added an additional date to the calendar, so we'll be together face-to-face next week in the MPR for that aspiring board member training. And then the other link that's there is the application form for either appointment or election, doesn't matter which one, or just to serve on a committee. Go ahead and feel free to click on that link and fill that form out. We'll be notified right away when you do that, and we're happy to get you involved. Okay?
Yep. And I just saw, how can you reach me directly? skyle@aswarsaw.org.
Yep. And I think, as Sarah said, to answer this question, yes, we are going to be planning to set another meeting, more face-to-face, where it can be easier for us to ask and answer questions as they may emerge. And then gym opened last week, Christmas break. Again, we're on the construction schedule. And so the challenge of coming back from the break and getting things back open, but we are on track to get things back open this coming weekend. And I think everything is coming together for us to be back on regular schedule. Yeah, Sarah, I think you've already mentioned, you can also reply to the email message we sent yesterday directly, and that goes directly back to Sarah. So she gets those messages as well.
Okay.
Let's see. Meeting with parents would be a great option. We heard you on that. And only parents and the board, please. Okay. All right. I think that gets us to the transition.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good evening.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye. All right. With that, hold on. Just got to click the right button here. We got one question about construction. Phase 1 of construction will be finished as planned. I think I announced last time we were together that we're a couple weeks behind schedule. We're waiting for the update from the contractors. There was also an additional delay during the vacation on some of the glazing. Again, we'll have a better assessment of that at a future town hall where we'll give you an estimate of where we're at and how we're doing. We're generally staying on track. Certainly, we made a lot of advances in the construction project during the vacation. We got lots of things done with the campus empty during those 3 weeks. And we're really seeing some things coming together in that regard. I don't know about terrible stench in ES corridors today. I will have to look into that. That's the first that I've heard. So let me take that one and see if I can find out more information about that. An open gym last week. I obviously don't know much about that, but I think possibly we had some open gym activity. Is accreditation in danger with no upper school principal or no IB coordinator? No, we have the proper coverage plans. And again, we do expect upper school principal back, and we have coverage for the IB coordinator through our various coverage elements, those of us that are working together on that. So it doesn't specifically cause any risk to that. So thank you for that question. All right, I'm ready to make transition now. We have some special guests tonight, and in order to bring those special guests on, please let me bring in Jay Flattinger, our elementary principal. Jay, thanks for coming and helping me to introduce our guests tonight. I'll let you take it off, and I'll bring them in, and you can introduce.
Yeah, it's very much my pleasure to be here tonight. Thank you, John, for the invitation, and hello, ASW community, and Happy New Year to everybody. It's really my distinct pleasure tonight to give you a little bit of an update to provide to the community with regard to our DEIJ strategic work that's been going on for the last 2.5, 3 years in various shapes. And so tonight we wanted to not only provide you that update, but also introduce you to a couple of people that we've been working very closely with in that process. And we feel like it's time to get those folks in front of you as the community and to introduce you to them with the special work that they've been doing to assist us and will continue to do to assist us. But just for the information of our community, last year we had a committee that was made up of 22 people. That included board members, it included administration, teachers, students, parents, TPA rep, a PTO rep. We had a really robust group of folks helping with this committee work. And what they really did was help us to establish a guiding framework for our DEI work going forward, which includes this wonderful statement that I know that you have seen with regards to being affirming, safe, and welcoming, and that really being our mission and vision at ASW for what DEI work will look like. And it also includes those 5 statements at the bottom of the screen where each statement begins with, at ASW, everyone belongs in every space, and at ASW, active listening and dialogue builds connections and understanding. And that really underpins the work that we're undertaking with professional development, with resource allocations, with all kinds of structures that we're now getting moving within the DEI realm. And so that statement, the 5 beliefs, and then a list of recommendations also came from that committee work last year, which actually pushed us, and John, if you just want to click ahead one slide, to one of the recommendations of last year's committee was that we needed an ongoing ASW advisory on DEI work. And so that has begun. It begun in September and will continue. And the idea is providing the ongoing oversight of this work, which includes linking together all the pieces that happen for students and teachers and parents, and really as a think tank of the big issues and ideas around DEI work in the global community, which also links to our CISA region and a number of other professional development connections that are available to us. And so this work began in the fall. It consists of 16 people on this advisory, again, made up of parents, students, teachers, admin, and school trustees, and they provide that sort of oversight. So what that leads us to tonight is to let you know about a partnership that we've had going actually for a very long time with CMA through the school, but for the last 2.5-ish years, we've been working distinctly with Dr. Rueben and Dr. Ashley, and they have been providing us some PD as staff in a framework we're kind of calling 101. And so all of our staff has been undertaking a 101A, B, and C component. And that included our new staff who joined us this fall, and we'll include our new staff who join us next year. And then it builds out from there for other professional development that our staff will be able to undertake. And we thought it would be brilliant if we could get all of that PD in front of you today so you could see a little bit of what it is that we've been working on.
You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Is it our time to shine?
It is.
you got, it's funny, you got the first question up here. It's just, what is DEIJ? So there you go. That's your Kickstarter right there.
All right. Well,
so I'm gonna switch slides here, right? And give you guys the slides.
Yeah, thank you
There you
so
go.
much. Thank you so much. All right. Well, we can't see you all out there, but I'm just imagining that there are a lot of beautiful ASW parents out there who are excited to learn about what's going on at ASW and how we've been connected. To be honest, I've been waiting to meet you all. This isn't ideal because I can't see your faces, but we're going to make use with what we got. And we got a lot in store for you today. Our work, we fall under the umbrella of DEI work. We'll get to some of that later, but we know that all this work starts with us as humans. And so we want to check on you all as humans. How are you all today? I see y'all are lighting up the chat. So will y'all let us know how y'all are doing in the chat. I am feeling really excited about this opportunity to share with you all. Ashley, how you doing today?
Yeah, I'm feeling very present, focused, and engaged. I'm really appreciative of the opportunity to connect with parents after really getting to engage a lot with the faculty and staff.
All right. Does anybody want to share how they feel? Are there any humans out there? Are the parents humans out there?
They're out there, and we'll keep tap on the comment stream here and see if we can get some comments. We did have one user that was able to define DEIJ for us, so there you go.
I saw that. Shout out to them that you come work with us.
And for everybody out there listening, I will get back to the questions after Ashley and Ruben's presentation. So please know they're still there, and I'll get back to them.
Look at that, Jay. Whatever you said works some magic. Somebody out there is grateful. Somebody out there is feeling grateful. All right, look, the chat's going to be open. We do this when we work with folks at ASW because we're all human, you all, and we gotta check in on how people are doing.
Who we are. We appreciate the opportunity to connect with you all. My name is Ashley Parker. I am a psychologist. My training is in clinical psychology and specifically multicultural psychology. My role now is in doing organizational psychology. So I work with individuals and organizations to support folks in meeting the needs of their roles, to live their values, to maximize their potential, and to help support people as people within organizations and systems. My values are growth, connection, and courage. And so I have been challenging myself to continue to grow, learn, evolve, so that I can support folks in their evolution as human beings and within their professional lives. Dr. Rueben?
Everything you said, Ashley. Nah, similar, but a little different. I have the privilege of working with Ashley and CMA and ASW, and I also work as a licensed psychologist. So, people call us shrinks, but I don't know if that's kind language or not. So I do licensed psychology. I have a private practice in Florida in the States. And I also do some speaking, and then similar to Ashley, business consulting. And so that's how we found our way here. Those are my jobs, and that's how I survive and make money. But I tell people my favorite job is being a loving human. And I take that job very, very seriously because why not? It's what we're here to do, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jay had alluded to a longstanding partnership between ASW and CMA. So very briefly, both Rueben and I work at CMA. It is a firm comprised of licensed psychologists, and we work across disciplines and industries, though we have industry knowledge and experience within higher education, international education. That picture of Dr. Rueben and I is actually from AAIE last year, and we are excited to be joining again this upcoming year at the conference in New York. We'll be presenting there. And so we are excited about the opportunity to support students and the schools being such a focal point for how we are preparing individuals to lead and be members of a worldwide community. It's a good space for Dr. Rueben and I to direct our time and attention. I see a great question in the chat. How long has CMA been advising ASW? So within our firm, we've been connected with ASW for 5-6 years. The work that Dr. Rueben and I have been doing specifically around the professional development program has been the last 2.5 years, as I think, Jay, I think you were on point, 2.5, 3 years. So if you have any more questions about CMA, you're welcome to ask. If you'd like to check us out online at cmaconsult.com. So what are we hoping to do today? Our goal is to introduce ourselves to you all. We have really benefited from our engagement with the staff, and we're really eager to connect with you all. We'd like to provide you an overview of what we have been working on, both in terms of content, but also the process. What is the kind of engagement that we're hoping to inspire within our workshops that we hope translates outside of those workshops? And we really would like to explore community member thoughts and questions. We really appreciate any engagement through that chat, thoughts, questions, concerns, so that we can continue to explore those aspects of the work we're doing that you all have the most questions about. So our plan is to connect first and foremost as humans. We continue to encourage you to use that chat. Very brief who we are, today's objectives, and how we envision the majority of our time is almost like a simulated experience. We will share some of the things that we've done in our sessions, but we also want to share a layer of our review of why, our rationale of why we've approached things in a certain way, to give you a bit of a look behind the curtain of our approach and what we hope we're inspiring within the community. The Q&A, there is specific time at the end. So if you'd like to hold your questions, you're welcome to do that. And you're also welcome to put questions in the chat at any time throughout.
Yeah, Ashley, I know you got some more to say. What I'm going to try to do is like answer some of those questions as we go through our simulated experience, because it's all related, and I kind of want to keep us on track. But these are good questions. Keep them coming in, and then you ask and you might receive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so are you saying, Rueben, we may not respond immediately to the questions, and we're attentive to the chat and we'll be responding throughout?
That's it. That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Okay. Good. I like to clarify communication with my
You're practicing
partner over there. As Jade alluded to, the structure of our series, we've been calling it a 101 because what we've learned in our work, Dr. Rueben and I, that it's helpful to set a common foundation. And so 101 has been the series that we developed specifically for ASW to set that foundation. It has 3 components that build on each other. A and B, they're all 90-minute sessions. So there are 3 90-minute sessions. A and B are didactic with certainly some interactive components. We really like participation. And then that third session, session C, is a lot of interactive, experiential. We want to help folks to translate intellectual understanding of concepts to real life practice. We also know that when it comes to community building, tends to be helpful to do so in community. So together, how are we practicing dialogue, for example? Anything else you'd add, Dr. Rueben, about our structure of how we've set up the series?
No, I think you hit it well, Ashley.
Okay. All right.
All right. So kind of jumping into the simulated experience. When we start our presentations, we are working to create a space. Sometimes that includes some of the things that are happening at ASW already. Sometimes we're asking participants, the staff, to go out on a limb and try some new things. Because Ashley will be the first one to tell you, I'm not into wasting people's times. And I don't like boring presentations either. So it's like we really encourage people to get what they need to out of our time together, because it's an investment from the ASW leaders, and it's an investment from the staff who have to be there. So we invite folks to practice some things that we know in our experience are helpful as psychologists and business consultants. Curiosity and humility, these are related. Curiosity is the courage to ask questions, because if we know everything, there's really no point in like really even being here. And the humility is that acknowledgement that we can't know everything. I mean, you all, there's so much to know about the human community. And so I tell folks, eat that humble pie so we can ask questions. Presence. I was journaling this morning and I wrote one of my favorite quotes. There's no greater present like the present. And so even in this moment, we're here right now. I know y'all are later in y'all's day, so y'all might be tired. But if we're going to be here, y'all are going to get 110% of Dr. Rueben. And I invite you all to do that. Wherever you're at, whatever you're going through, be present with it and be with it. And then vulnerability. I think this is one of Ashley and I's strong suits. We are very vulnerable in acknowledging, we have these skills as experts and all this training, but we also are human. And everybody in this chat is a human. John, Jay, you parents that we can't see, Ashley Parker, Dr. Rueben, we're all human. And to share that outwardly is one of the greatest gifts that we have as humans. And we ask people to kind of figure out where that sweet spot is for you too. When you're comfortable, you're typically not growing. And comfort's comfort, like it's easy to be comfortable. There's also the other end of the spectrum of comfort where you're in your danger zone. It's too overwhelming. That's not what we really want either, because when you're overwhelmed, you're not growing either. But we want and we invite folks to explore what's that sweet spot that we call the growth edge, where you're not comfortable, but you're not in the danger zone, but you're pushing yourself gently and compassionately to grow and evolve. That's what we're inviting. That's what I invite myself to every day. And that's what I invite anybody I work with, including ASW staff, to do. Respect, RESPECT. You all, if y'all don't take anything from this presentation, I want to remind you all that we are all perfectly imperfect humans doing the best we can with what we got in any given moment. If we could do differently, we would do differently. I want to say that again, and I like repetition. Y'all are going to notice that, because that's how you reprogram the brain. Y'all are going to be psychologists after this too. Perfect imperfection. We are all doing the best that we can with what we got in any given moment. I think when people hear DEIJ, they think that they're going to have to give up parts of themselves. And in some ways, that is part of the journey. But also a part of the journey is acknowledging that you are where you're at. And it's okay to be where you're at. Now, we don't want to keep making the same mistakes to hurt ourselves and others, but we have to be okay with where we're at and use that as a foundation to move forward. A lot of times we kind of beat ourselves up, and that's not helpful. And other times we're critical about other people too, right? And we don't allow them to be perfectly imperfect humans who are just learning. And so we make sure we hold that frame for everybody we work with, including ourselves. We're not perfect people doing this work either. Me and Ashley model this very transparently in our work. Compassion is one of those tools that helps us respect ourselves and other people. So remember that we're perfectly imperfect beings. Compassion helps us maintain that frame. We do a lot of dialogue-based work. So unfortunately, and maybe fortunately, I don't know, depending on how you feel about connecting with other humans, we can't see you all, but we have a lot of dialogue built into our trainings, because that's how we evolve, by connecting. And we invite folks to use I statements so we can own our human experience. So I feel, or I think, or I observe versus you, they, because that usually sparks defensiveness in other people. Active listening, another tool. How do we absorb and try to understand what people are saying, even if we don't agree, right? And it's hard when you don't agree because you're listening to respond sometimes, or you're just listening passively where you're really not understanding what's going on. But we ask people like to dig in, like, what are people trying to say, even if they're not doing the best job at saying it. And then, self-care. Like if you don't want to participate today, we're not into forcing people to do anything they don't want to do. We respect human autonomy too much. So if you need to take time away, step away, we always invite folks to do that. Like in our trainings, even today, please ask the questions you need to ask. There's not really much you could probably share that we haven't heard already. And if you have the question, typically somebody else has the question who just might not have the courage or ability to ask the question. So please ask your questions. And if we can't answer it, we have enough practice saying, I don't know, we can look it up for you. All right. So also in our trainings, we're here today. We're going to get to all of that. This is all part of the journey. So we start off with values because when you know where you're going, you can be honest about if you're taking steps towards or away from where you're going. All right. We do this as people and we do this as organizations. And that is going to be the key to how we hold ourselves and organizations accountable. So for instance, I'm Dr. Rueben. One of my values is love. And so when I'm going through life, I'm asking myself, is this decision aligned with love or is this away from love? I really love equipping people with the skills to love themselves and other people. So I don't know if y'all remember George Floyd, global phenomenon, but it was pandemonium. It was conflict. It was like a collective panic attack. And to me, that was an opportunity to live in alignment with my values. A friend called me up and she was like, can you come speak at this demonstration? I think there's going to be 50 people. And then when I got there, 50 people turned into 4,000 people. And was I afraid? Was I scared? Like it was very tense at that time. If y'all can remember, it was COVID, George Floyd, racism was elevated. And I said, Rueben, you love people enough. You can do this. You can find a word that's going to unite the people. And that's what I did. So that's what that picture's about. Ashley, what about you and your values?
Yeah. When I think about why I'm here, we could get real deep real fast, right? Why did I pick psychology? Why have I kind of committed a lot of my life personally and professionally toward growth? And as I was thinking about real deep, it wasn't so much, why did I pick my dissertation topic or why do I approach coaching in a certain way? I think about the things that are most fundamental to me, and it's my family. I have 3 little boys. They are 6, 4, and 2. And I feel a profound sense of responsibility for equipping them with the tools that will help them to navigate the world. And I've been learning what those tools are for myself, and what I've come to, which is ever evolving, is this sense that every single one of us has this light. And I just have this feeling with my kids. I see their light, and I saw it much earlier than I thought I would as someone who never had kids before. Even as infants, just their spirit, just their goodness, their soul. And I think about how am I equipping them with the tools to protect and to amplify that light, because I think that's what every human could do. And I'm also simultaneously thinking, how do I get the world ready for my kids? Because right now, the world is a very scary place to be raising children and to be thinking about how we're preparing them for the future. And so why I'm here today is because I'm committed to finding and leveraging my own light, which I think comes through sometimes in this work. I hope it does. And I'm committed to helping other people find and leverage their light because we are all somebody's child. And I also want to do my part to create the kind of world community that I want my kids to be a part of. And so that's why I'm here, is because the stakes are high. And I see this as an opportunity for me to leverage what I know to support others in their growth. We encourage you to think about, why are you here? You know, Dr. Rueben shared that it's helpful to know where we're headed, and values can be that lighthouse that lets us know, are we moving closer or further away? Is this action moving us closer to our values or further away? And so if you have not already, we would encourage you to really explore, what are your values? How do you live those values as a community member at ASW? This is an activity that we would encourage you to do following today's session, or you could do it in real time right now. If you'd like to add into the chat any values that are really resonant with you. We have some on the screen, but there are certainly many, many more. This is not an all-inclusive list. Sidebar, the reason we really love to do this is to inspire for people their why. Because sometimes when you have a workshop or a training, I think sometimes people show up because it's on their calendar and because they're required to. And we just know that that kind of extrinsic reinforcement is much less powerful than intrinsic reinforcement. So we're really trying to situate, why does this matter? Why did you choose this career? Why do you want to have an impact every day? Because it enables us to live more fully in that why. Would anyone like to share? We're looking at the chat, and it is, of course, an invitation, not a directive. All right. In the interest of continuing, I'm willing to proceed. And another thing that may be helpful for Dr. Rueben and I to share is that we don't mind a little silence. So in our work, we have found that silence can be a helpful tool. People need time and space to reflect. And sometimes silence can give folks the opportunity to take some risks interpersonally. So I think I have.
Oh, I'm sorry. My bad, Ashley. What was it?
I was just saying, I think as a psychologist, I have kind of a high tolerance for silence. But Dr. Rueben, what were you going to say?
No, I was going to say, if I'm looking at these comments, I'm thinking about, if I'm some of these parents, what would some of my values be? And I wonder if some of the values are advocacy, care, love,
safety,
work, safety, responsibility. So again, everything y'all are saying in the chat is aligned with the work that we're doing. Those aren't inherently bad. It's like, what is in alignment with your values? What isn't in alignment with your values? What's in alignment with ASW's values? That is how we're going to tighten up community, and that's how communities navigate conflict. So keep reflecting on this. This is like a lifelong exercise. All right, y'all. Me and Ashley, we've been going back and forth on DEI, and I want to say this, but don't take it to the bank completely, because we need this still. But I have some conflict with DEI. I've been to my own DEI workshops and trainings, and the way that I was engaged was very harmful and hurtful. And then when I look on the news and then I hear how people talk about DE&I, they are uninformed, and it's kind of been co-opted. So DEI is now like a dog whistle or code language for a lot of different things that doesn't align with the work that I and we Ashley Parker do. And so what we have been doing intentionally, we use DEI to get in the door, but we also try to reframe what people think of when they hear and see DEI as humanity, because that's really what it's about, you all. Yeah, there's systems, identity, all of that stuff, and we'll touch on a little bit of that today, just so you get a little taste. But ultimately, when you all hear DEI, I want you to think of the humanity of yourself as a vast, multidimensional human being, and the humanity of your fellow human beings on the earth. Right.
So it's with that context that we explore some real fundamental language and concepts and discuss with participants how this emerges in their day-to-day work. We won't go into the weeds here today, and we wanted to share some of the language that we review, recognizing that, as Dr. Rueben said, our goal is to sensitize folks to their own and others' humanity. And so our hope is that our work does that.
Real quick, Ashley, can you go back to the other side so we don't mix it up? The whole idea with this, especially when we're working with the staff, is if they're able to sensitize themselves to their own humanity and each other, then they're going to be better able to do it with you all's kids. It's called social emotional learning, right? Or what is the other one called? Where they learn by watching what other people do. Can't think of the theory right now, but that's the whole idea. If their teachers are modeling it, then they're going to say, oh, I can try this with my friends and my peers, or I could try this at home, right? I can try to, you all get the idea. I don't want to get too deep. Real quick, because there's one slide that I'm really trying to get to based on what I'm seeing in the chat. These are some major concepts that we touch on, and I want you all to have this too as parents. Real quick, open your head, your heart, your soul. I got to deposit something in there real quick. You all, we are not responsible for our early programming experiences. I'm going to say it again and again because the repetition is how we change our brain. We are not responsible for our early programming experiences. We are not responsible for our early programming experiences. And when I use the word programming, the psychological term is socialization. And allows there to be multiple truths. And we are responsible for what we do with our programming now and moving forward. And we are responsible for what we do with our programming now and moving forward. So we're not responsible for our early programming experiences, what happened to us in childhood, growing up in the past. And we're responsible for what is happening now and what we do moving forward, because that's all we have control over. The cycle of socialization, which we review with most people we work with, explains that. Essentially, you all, when we came into the world, you all's kids even, they were blank slates, essentially. They weren't coming out discriminating against themselves and other people, hating themselves and other people. They had to learn that from the world. And so in our early experiences, we learn about ourselves in the world. We learn some helpful ideas and we learn some unhelpful ideas. And as we keep moving through life, we enter organizations or institutions or our culture. So think about religion, think about school, right? Think about other community organizations, and we get more programming. And then that programming, you're either rewarded for how closely you follow the programming, or you're punished by departing from the culture. And y'all, if you flip on the TV and you look at the news, you see the results of the programming. It's fueled by fear, ignorance, insecurity. All right, real low vibrational stuff that we probably don't want if we want to survive as a species. I give a good example when we do the trainings, because what me and Ashley are trying to do is we're trying to humanize this. I've been socialized, Ashley's been socialized, John's been socialized, Jay's been socialized, everybody's been socialized. And so we share real life examples. So I share an example from my childhood where I was a kid actually. And, you know, they had the candy at the store, and it's at eye level for the kids, right? And I think it's intentional, but that's a whole nother presentation. And I was standing there, and my caregiver, I still love her deeply, she popped my hand. And I wasn't even acting up that day to get the punishment. And I was confused. She said, boys don't hold their hands like that.
Mhm.
And so that from that moment on, I said, I don't want to get hit like this. I'm not holding my hand like this. And as I grew up, I got more messages about what it meant to be a boy and what it meant to be closer to a girl. And because I was a boy or even a man, I needed to do certain things, right? And so that followed me throughout my life. I got messages in church. I got messages in school from my friends, from my teachers about what it meant to be a boy. When I got to college and I played football, I got messages about what it meant, how to treat women. And it wasn't always pleasant. Many times it wasn't. And the moment I started to question that, I got punished. Oh, you're weak, or you're not one of us, or you can't hang out with us acting like that. The whole idea is we kind of are on autopilot with life until we decide to ask, what is my programming? What is truly mine? And what has been programmed into me? With that awareness, which is really what we're doing in our trainings, especially early on, we're trying to increase people's awareness, which gives them a choice to say, okay, I don't want to behave in this way that my family taught me growing up. It hasn't served me or the people that I work with, right? Or I want to keep this part of myself because this is meaningful to me, but at least I'm doing it consciously. Me and Ashley, we're not trying to tell people what to do, what to think. That's not our vibe. Some people, yeah, but that's not our vibe. We want people to have a conscious choice to say, I want to live in alignment with this value, or I'm not going to live in alignment with this value consciously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I share examples. This tool has been just so instrumental for me in my own growth. As I've started to enhance my sensitivity to what has gotten in the way of me being able to actualize my values. So just very briefly, I share examples about, my socialization, my programming as a woman. It has been built into my experience to prioritize the needs of other people. So to sacrifice for the better good, to contribute to harmony, make sure that everyone feels okay. Don't say or do anything that will upset anyone. And what I've learned is that as I was on autopilot with that script running in my programming, that really got in the way of me being courageous and growing and changing and sharing some tough messages that I felt were important to create the kind of world that I hope we live in. And so for me, part of my growth has been an unpacking that fear of being disliked, that need for external validation. And so that is for me the way that I'm seeking to interrupt my own cycle of socialization so that I can show my values more frequently. Highly encourage reflection around this tool. And I continue to be inspired to think about, gosh, when am I on autopilot? And when can I enhance my consciousness, which gives me an opportunity to make a different choice?
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to try to get through this real quick because there's something else I want to plug into you all before we get to some questions and get out of here. But basically, me and Ashley, we're trained as psychologists. So we like to give people the psychological tools to be better humans. And inevitably, when people come to therapy, they're trying to increase their consciousness on how they think, how they're feeling, and how they're acting, their behavior. Because a lot of times we're on autopilot, you all. We got those programs from when we were yay high kids, and we just keep doing it without questioning, why do I do this? The reason that this is important and why we bring it into our training is because our thoughts, feelings, and actions are directly related to our disposition or tendency to stereotype other people, engage in prejudice, and discriminate against people. And discrimination isn't always what you do, and it isn't always negative or bad, right? But again, we want to increase people's consciousness. So for instance, like a stereotype, Black people are athletes and entertainers. When me and Ashley are together, it's interesting because we got this black and white dynamic. And I'm 6'4", Ashley's short, she's a shorter white woman. And if you ask people, who do you think likes football more? Do you know what they would say? They probably would say me. because of the stereotype. Black people are athletes, and you see it on TV. And to be honest, I actually was a football player. So some stereotypes can be true, right? And Ashley definitely loves football more than I do. I mean, Ashley. She's in a fantasy football league. She cares about. I really don't care about football like that. But you wouldn't be able to tell that if you're running on stereotypes. You're going to say Rueben cares about athletes more, right? And obviously that's a benign example. But the way we treat kids, the way we treat ourselves, the way we treat each other, they're rooted in these ideas that we don't check out. And so again, we're inviting parents to take a moment to check out, what are your surprises? What are your ahas? What have you been taught about groups, or what haven't you been taught about groups, right? That influences how you're behaving outside of your awareness. So that's the vibe with this, high level. We're about to go to this last part. It's a last chunk. Okay. And the whole idea here is this, y'all. If we don't come together and have some conversation, I'm going to say this in a dramatic way because it's how I feel. We're going to die. We're all going to die. I mean, you see the war, you see the conflict. We're on the brink of nuclear. And I don't say that to scare folks. I mean, y'all have been affected by war in a different way than we have in the States too. In the nice way, we're going to solve our problems when we come together and connect across our similarities and differences. And so again, we don't just give the teachers, the staff, this content without a tool to do something with it. And that's why we give them these tools we're about to give you, and then we invite them to practice the dialogue with us. So we're going to go through 3 types of communication. They're not inherently good or bad, but they all have their advantages and challenges. So I'll start with debate. Debate, I want you to think of debate as like this. This is like the visual representation. Somebody got to be right. Somebody got to be wrong. You're usually pointing the finger. It's very competitive. And somebody usually comes out feeling hurt because somebody got to be a loser in competition. If you flip on the news, this is typically the kind of interaction that you're seeing, but with on news, on mainstream news. Somebody got to win. You're really not interested in the other person's side. Ashley, you want to give an example?
Yeah, I can think of an experience where I thought I was engaging in dialogue, and we'll get there in a moment. So I was sharing how I was feeling about a situation, and then the other person just kind of said, well, I disagree. And as I reflect on that experience, I kind of think we shifted into debate in a way that made it like, well, I must have been wrong. And so debate can show up pretty explicitly. We have different opinions and we're trying to figure out how to use resources, for example. But it also can show up in those ways where it's like, well, it's about getting up on somebody or saying, well, I disagree, when that, to my perspective, was kind of beside the point because I was freely sharing something that only I would uniquely know, which is how I felt about it. So that's one way I've seen that come up.
Moving on to discussion. You all want to, I think about, so if this is debate, discussion is, you're kind of like this. You're kind of reaching across to connect as humans, kind of. And so with discussion, you're sharing more openly. It's not so combative. It actually might feel good. There might be some laughing, some smiling. The challenge here is like there's a missing depth from discussion, where you really might not be considering how people are feeling as individuals or how they might be feeling as complex emotional beings, right? I give an example of when I've done consulting work, or I've even been an employee in organizations, and in staff meetings, I see a lot of discussion where people are talking, especially when the boss is in the room. People are talking, but they really don't share how they feel until after the meeting. You know, I used to work at, I won't tell you where I work, but people used to come in my office. They were like, Rueben, can you believe they said this? And I'm like, why didn't you say that in the meeting? Because they were having discussion. Ashley, you want to share?
I always think of ships passing in a night. It's kind of like we are throwing out information without necessarily making the connection. So it's about depth as you're sharing, but also kind of connecting the dots.
Yeah. Dialogue. It always makes me smile. because this is what's going to save us as humankind, and this is what we try to practice and model. This is debate. This is discussion. This is dialogue. This is true human connection, right? Dialogue, you are communicating with people as vast, multidimensional human beings, and you are also working to explore common ground. So it's not about, Ashley, do I believe everything you think? And do I think it's right or wrong? It's not even about that. It's about, I see you and I hear you as a human, and how do we make sense out of this together?
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean we're always going to have a solution. It doesn't mean we're always going to have an answer. Oftentimes we'll eventually get there, but it's a matter of being with another complex human as they are. You all, if you don't know what this is, it's probably because you just haven't had a lot of opportunities to have this kind of human connection. It is very rare, which is why we try to model this for the ASW staff to practice, because like all these are skills, and we emphasize that a lot. Yeah, it's hard, it's challenging, but the more you practice it, the better you're going to get at it. It's like a muscle, right? My example with this is back in grad school, I taught a diversity class, and I didn't want to set it up where I was just talking at people. We sat in a circle, because you can't hide in a circle, and everybody became the curriculum. And by giving people these tools to connect, the first day everybody was uncomfortable because you're in that circle and you can't hide. And by the last day of class, I mean, we went through conflict, we went through crisis, people hated each other, people loved each other, but we talked about it. We had dialogue through it. And by the last day of class, people were in tears because they didn't want to leave class. Can you imagine students not wanting to leave, college students not wanting to leave a college class after 16 weeks? I was like, y'all, we got to end this. But it was a telling message where it's like they hadn't experienced that kind of human intimacy.
Mm-hmm.
Any examples for dialogue you want to share, Ashley Parker?
Well, I think another facet of dialogue is the exploration of power, dynamics, formal power, like institutional or hierarchical power, but then also power associated with social identities. So saying, hey, I'm not sure if it landed well because I'm a woman, and I know sometimes there's a fine line between, nice and overly direct. And so getting to explore and unpack kind of the layers of social nuances is a characteristic of dialogue. And a lot of examples relate to the kinds of conversations that you and I have, Rueben. When we review the sessions that we have and talk about what we think went well or didn't go well and what led us to the choice points that we did, it's an opportunity to explore, well, what were the dynamics in the space? What did you notice? What did I notice? How did our different identities kind of affect how we were experiencing the space and how people were experiencing us?
My favorite part of those discussions is, how do you feel? How do you feel? What do you feel about that? Because y'all, we're humans. We're not that's what separates us from from robots. We have feelings, and the feelings are really what are driving what we think and our actions. So that is like a lot of times in executive coaching, I'm trying to get executives to say, how do you think that person felt?
This slide is so rich, and there are a lot of different experiences that we have with these kinds of interaction, and there are a lot of different impediments that we can experience that could keep us from the kind of enriching dialogue that we may want. And so our goal in this moment is to orient you toward not just what is being said, but kind of how it's being said, and that there is opportunity for us to deepen our skills so that we can more consciously and mindfully connect with our own experience so that we can more thoroughly embrace other people's experiences. We encourage you to reflect on why this matters to you in our real session. We would have a small group dialogue about this. We won't do that here today because we want this to be applicable to real life situations. We know there are questions and reactions. We would encourage any questions about our approach. I want to be thoughtful, of course, of those questions that have come into the chat and also invite other questions. Are there any that others would add? I'm finding myself wanting to clarify. So it sounds like who chose CMA for this assessment. So at this point, CMA, Dr. Rueben and I, we haven't conducted any assessment. Our role with ASW has been in facilitating professional development sessions through this 101 A, B, and C. So it's another firm. Maybe John or Jay could speak to the differentiation of what we have done or what we have.
I think possibly people are referring to Terrace Metrics, which is separate from CMA. It's not related to you. CMA is one of many professional development providers that we reach out to. We have a variety of professional development that goes on throughout the year. The school pays for that as a portion of its budget. We budget that yesterday, we budget that on an annual basis. And CMA is just part of that budget. And particularly since this was strategic work that was decided by the board as a strategic area, it has strategic funds associated with that. So we're not drawing directly from professional development funds that are also sending staff members to other training that they're participating in, either online or in conferences that they attend in order to get the professional development that helps enhance our school overall. All of this comes back to our staff, which then benefits our students, which I saw in another question, like how does this benefit students? Well, it benefits staff, and then that translates into staff who are better able to deal with these kinds of things in their classroom context. And that's been our focus for the last year and a half, is getting staff up to a level. Parallel to that, there's other processes going on to address the curricular aspects of this and make sure that we're addressing this, not just in curricular, but in also the activities and the things we do. Jay and I can talk about Diversity Week and about the work of the ASW committee and the ongoing work in our policies and languages that have also derived from this work or are running in parallel with it. But in the case of Ashley and Rueben, they've been our leaders in terms of getting this base level of training so we have a consistency of knowledge amongst staff and across every aspect of the school. So this is just one piece of the overall puzzle of the things we do with staff and with our people that have the influence on students so that we can help them be better at their jobs and be better in their interactions with kids and be better in their interactions with each other. I love, Rueben, the humanness of it and understanding that we're all human beings and that we're trying to get better at being good human beings to each other and the relationships that we have.
Thank you, John, for that. I guess, so keep asking questions in the chat. I want to start from the top because I want to honor what we said, where these questions are welcome and there's no bad question. I'm going to lump two questions together, and if anybody has other ideas, chirp. But
Rueben, let me throw one into you. There's a comment. I'm watching two streams here. So there's a comment in Facebook that didn't come through to our chat stream. I'm not sure why, but it was a thank you to our guests for being with us tonight. He wonders, do you think that individuals, families with more conservative values and socialization tend to be demonized in the educational institutions of today? It seems a lot of conservative viewpoints are frowned upon in a lot of schools. I'd like to point to Loudoun County and Fairfax counties in Virginia, for example. Can you speak to that? Because I think that's a question that's really pertinent to what you just shared with us.
Ashley, do you want to go first, or would you like me to go first? I'm ready to let this one rip.
You share, and then I'd be happy to add what I'm thinking.
Okay. I think the way schools are set up, I think they're just naturally more liberal-oriented spaces, typically, not all the time. And I think it depends on if it's public, international school, private, and that doesn't mean they're not more conservative factions within certain liberal schools, but typically schools lean more liberal. And with group dynamics, which is another thing that we work on with the educators, there can start to become a groupthink from the dominant group. So if you got more liberals than conservatives, things are going to typically lean that way. And then what happens when you have a dominant group and a less dominant group, a subordinate group, is there can start to be this power dynamic that's created where people feel left out, and sometimes they actually are. And so it's not uncommon to see conservative ideas and actions marginalized in more liberal spaces. And I'm taking right or wrong out of it, just the nature of group dynamics. And so I think what we're trying to do is we want to welcome all of the perspectives, because what we don't want to do is have a conservative group of people, whether they're more quiet or whether they don't believe in what's going on, to shut down. Anytime anybody is not speaking up in a group, it's not good. It's not good for the health of the community. And so what we're trying to do is equip people with tools to communicate about whatever your beliefs are. Because again, it's not about debate, right or wrong. You're wrong because you're conservative, or you're wrong because you're liberal. What it's about in our approach is, okay, let it out. Let's hear it. Let's put it on the table. Let's see what is closely aligned with our individual values as people and what's aligned with our collective values. And in this case, it's ASW folks, whether it's the parents, the staff, leaders. So Ashley, would you add anything to that?
Yeah, everything that you just said. And I think about judgment and shifting judgment into curiosity. And so I suspect there's a lot of judgment that goes on. And in my experience, judgment can distance our connection from ourselves and other people, right? Think about self-judgment. It doesn't help people to be compassionate and experience themselves as learning, growing beings. And judgment toward others can interfere with that compassion and extension to others. And so I think about curiosity being a critical tool, a skill that folks can develop to engage in dialogue, because our problems will not be solved by further polarization. I believe that our problems will be better addressed through open dialogue among people who have developed the skill of curiosity and communication. Thank you, John, for passing along that question. And thank you to the individual who asked it. Rueben, you were kind of going through. Did you have something you wanted to go to?
Whoa. Let me see, because I was scrolling up. Yeah, because I want to acknowledge this. People, there's clearly some tension going on in the chat. And I'm going to kind of lump two of these together and throw out my idea, because what I don't want to do is leave here and act like I didn't see what was going on here. There's two comments that stick out that I'm going to try to touch on together. As for CMA findings, have you seen that ASW community is in disturbance lately? That's one. And then the other is, what are CMA your main three concerns? I'm going to answer this, but I'm going to reframe it. Well, I want to say one thing first. Y'all, there is no perfect. You remember what I said about perfect imperfection? There is no perfect human. And humans make up organizations. It's just collective of humans doing the same thing. So there's no perfect organization. And so when Ashley and I go into organizations as consultants, we're saying, what are the values? And we're not saying if there is a gap between the values and behavior. We're saying, how much is it? Because we know it's there. Nobody's perfect. No organization's perfect. So what I see, especially as Ashley and I get deeper into our work and understanding of what's going on across the ASW community, is all I see is opportunity. Because even in this chat, you all as parents are voicing things that y'all are probably having issues with. And that is the foundation of what me and Ashley are trying to do. Get it up and out. We're not scared of what you're feeling. Like, we want that to come out, because we know that that is the opportunity for us to connect, understand, and act in alignment with act in alignment with our values, personally and institutionally. So I don't know what the main concerns are, because I see a lot of opportunity. And we can get nitty gritty, but that's probably not what's most important now. But I want to frame that. Like, we see what's going on at ASW as a lot of opportunity, especially us having the opportunity to dive deeper into this work.
I see a question. Have you closed the gap at ASW? I'm imagining that saying, have you, Ashley and Dr. Rueben, contributed to more behaviors in alignment with organizational values? I hope so. And it's an ongoing process. So we do post workshop surveys where we get feedback about what resonated with folks, what didn't. We ask them to share what action step they're committing to, and we recognize that the ball is in their court in terms of how they are actualizing that. What would you add, Dr. Rueben?
Well, I want to be respectful of the time. I know we said we wrap up around 15 into the hour, but just to respond, I think most people who are connected to us with these trainings are saying that they're learning and are becoming excited about being better humans.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And we have the data to support that.
Mm-hmm. To that end, we value your feedback. This is a QR code to a survey that Dr. Rueben and I manage. This doesn't go to ASW. This goes to us. We would be very appreciative of any thoughts, feedback you have about what we've shared with you as we continue to learn and grow as practitioners and facilitators. Thank you all so much for your time. And I will graciously hand it back over to John.
Ashley, Dr. Rueben, as always, you're wonderful and tremendous supporters of ASW, and I want to thank you for being here tonight. I know this is just a first opportunity to try to put you in front of parents. I hope we'll have other opportunities in the future. I know we continue on with our professional development program, and also your help with us as new staff members come in each year in August has been invaluable for making sure we're all starting on the same playing field. Jay, I want to hand it to you for any additional comments about the work that we're doing on the ASW committee and any final thoughts.
Yeah, I just really want to say thank you to Dr. Rueben and Dr. Parker for joining us tonight, for sharing where we're at, sorry, I have things going on in the background here, and they're a little distracting. Sorry. No, I just really wanted to start closing the gap and getting back to that last comment that we haven't really looped in parents to some of this great work that's been happening other than those who have been on the committees. And I feel really strongly that this is a really great bridge into that work where you can start to see what some of the committees have been working on. You can see maybe that affirming safe and welcoming statement showing up in various places on the website or through our diversity week activities. Maybe you've seen it in a variety of different places. And we think that that it's leading us to a better place in terms of being a dialogue-rich community, in terms of being a place that believes in the acceptance and belonging of all, regardless of what your individual values or family values are, but that we truly embrace those. And that the real core of all of this is belonging. And that belonging is important to each of us as staff members, and that we want all families and all kids to feel like ASW is a place that accepts them and that they feel safe in, and that is a place that really represents them and who they are. And so I really thank Ashley and Rueben for joining us tonight and opening that dialogue. But as John says, we have a lot more to do in this regard. And this professional development is just one aspect of the pathway we're going on to really be an affirming, safe, and welcoming school to every single member of our community. So a great thanks to the community for participating with some dialogue tonight too. And on a night when I know that you're thinking about many other important topics in the world, that this is an important piece of our community fabric and what it'll mean to be moving forward as a strong community together, thinking about each individual's representation within that group and making sure that they feel like this is the school for them and that they belong in it. So I just great thanks to everybody for your participation tonight, and you will hear lots more about DEIJ work as we move forward.
Thank you. Thank you, all three of you, for being here tonight. I really appreciate it.
Thank you,
Super.
John.
Thanks, John.
Bye-bye. And, ooh. Okay. I'm here. Don't worry. I'm going to stick around. I'm going to try to get back to questions here. I've been kind of finding my location. Let me start back here, I think, is probably a good place. Yeah, there was a little bit of a stench this afternoon. It wasn't a stench. It was paint. So there was some painting going on in the sealed corridor, but inadvertently a worker opened a doorway. And so we had a little bit of that smell in the hallways. It was just fresh paint. Kind of similar to art projects, but it did bring into the hallway, and it was something we had a conversation with the contractor about to make sure that that doesn't happen again. So I just want to make sure and capture that one. I did kind of think about the open gym last week, and there's also kind of general questions about access to the site. We have limited access to the site to groups that we have controlled and with supervisors. So what you're referring to is open general access to the site. We have not opened that up yet because of construction and because of workers here during the off hours. This is primarily evenings and weekends, but we heard your demands earlier in the semester about getting some things going for kids. So we've had the kid events. They're all supervised. They're all closed down. We have some facility use that is underway with key supervisors signed off to supervise and keep people within certain areas. So as long as it's a controlled activity with supervisors and they've worked this with the athletics and activities office, those are the things we're allowing. But we have not opened the campus for just general public use. That's well documented since early in the semester because we have vehicles moving about. We have things that are still going on construction-wise. We're hoping to open this more broadly as the winter weather subsides into spring. And given the stage of construction that we're at, we feel quite confident that we'll be able to open up that general public access sometime a little bit later this year. I answer this question about accreditation. No, we think we have that in hand. There's parking permits for building workers. Yes, that's always been there. We've always had a certain number of parking spaces for CFE to utilize for key members of their team in addition to what they park at off-site. We have to kind of manage and control that, but it was always in our agreement with them that there were a certain number of spots that they had, and that's the limit so that it keeps the vast majority of our parking available to our staff and parents. And everything I heard in the early parts of the year was this was working well, particularly with us moving staff over to the upper school side of the parking lot, because that seemed to resolve many of the issues in elementary for the pickup zones. So that's generally, we think, handled. Someone asked about a discount for the discomfort with construction. Obviously, no, we're not planning that. Let me talk about the discomfort of construction, though. That's part of what we all have to go through. Schools cannot do the kind of updates and upgrades to a building that we planned for over 2 years and shared with the community every step of the way without going through a bit of discomfort. We've tried to minimize it as much as we possibly can, but international schools around the world do construction on this scale and like this in many different settings. Here's the thing. You'll only have to do this once in 20 to 25 years. And we said going into it, and the board knew when it was making the decision, this would be one of the challenges that we would face, taking a 20-plus-year-old building and renovating it to standards and taking care of some of the issues that we had to deal with in order to prepare it for the future. And so that's the pain that we're going through. We're doing the very best that we can to make sure we're managing all of these bits and pieces to keep operating while we do the construction. Again, not uncommon in the international world. It actually has happened here before when the annex was being built and construction was going on site. Ours is significant, and I understand that, but I just want you to know that it was something we said we were going to do, that we were going to plan for, that we were going to have lots of people involved. And we shared those plans and we pushed those things out. And we also made it clear to the board before the final decision was made that this would be a very significant challenge to us. And so we continue to work very hard to tweak our process, to make it better, and to continue to improve where we have issues. We are generally in alignment with the parameters that we'd set for operating and for trying to make things as best we can. The next one was about lighting. And as I said at the beginning of the year in one of the earlier town halls, lighting is not done yet. The hallways are open right now because of the incremental work that we're doing. There was a lot of work done during the vacation that was improving wiring and cable trays and also improve some lighting. But that's not the final piece on lighting. The ceilings and the lighting comes later when we finished all of the duct work, when we finished all the piping, when we have got everything in play. Then we'll come back and finish the ceilings, and you'll see that we'll be adding additional lighting to that will brighten the hallways tremendously and will add a new ambiance to the overall facility when it's complete. So please stay with us as we do incrementally and get to that age. Right now, we're primarily focused in classrooms, getting our HVAC systems upgraded, which was also a clear request of our community, is that we needed to upgrade and significantly enhance our air handling capability, our HVAC, our air conditioning. That takes a lot of infrastructure work. And so we're doing that, again, incrementally as we go through improving and uplifting classrooms. We brought a lot of new classrooms online this last week. I know that elementary has been the stalwarts right now. We are going to be moving into upper school. Upper school is next, and it'll have the same sequence over weeks and periods of time in order to get that work in place. We'll have more on that soon. Every Monday now is an update on construction and what the plan is of work this week. So every weekly update on Monday morning, we'll have the work plan for the week and what we've accomplished in the recent weeks so that you can review that on a weekly basis. And I'm always happy to answer specific questions. I'm not sure specifically what construction supervision you're referring to, but we have regular inspections that take place here while we're under construction. Everything is being reported, everything is being checked, and so everything is in play. Sometimes we have to provide additional documents to show the schedules and those kinds of things, but please know that we're following all the normal parameters and processes for that. Let me see. I'm going to scan through here. There was a question about the medical clinic. We are not open for outside community. That may be a misinterpretation of the form that's available online, but we're only providing medical services under Warsaw Med to our families, to ASW families. So many people have taken advantage of the medical services that are available for appointment after school, for getting their medical test check done for students for activities and sports. As you know, before the vacation, they had multiple days after school scheduled for immunizations. We have a doctor that's available to us through our program with Warsaw Med. And so they use an appointment portal that would suggest that there's others, but in fact, it's only ASW, and they have other clinics that they refer people to when it's not ASW folks. So please know that it's Warsaw Med's services, even their extended services, are only for the ASW community that's being provided in our clinic. Yes, we do have paramedics in the nurse's office. That's part of what Warsaw Med provides. We also call paramedics when we have a medical emergency and we need to deal with a student illness or injury. And so paramedics are called on occasion in order to respond to those issues. Let's see. I'm scanning down. Yes, I know that we are a community in crisis. I understand that there are many concerns. We're trying to answer them and take responsibility for that incrementally and be on board with that. You've seen the board's plan. The concerns of the investigation were summarized by Sarah before the break in her communication, and the board's plan tonight we put in front of you. Other meetings are planned so that you can ask additional questions. And I think as Sarah committed, there's going to be an opportunity for interaction with the board that'll be scheduled in the near future. Please don't be worried about your beloved school. We see kids here every day having a wonderful experience. We're in classrooms. We are connecting with teachers, with classrooms, and there are good things happening. You've been here for the programs. You've been here for the holiday activities, the Jingle Bell Run, the other things that are going on. PTO had a wonderful board meeting today, and all the activities that are planned that are part of this beloved school are continuing on. And so we have lots of wonderful good things going on, and everything is going well in terms of preserving the learning experience for kids. Our teachers are amazing, and they're doing absolutely wonderful work with kids. And it just really is a wonderful experience. I know it doesn't look perfect with the way that renovation and construction is going on, but the spirit is there, and the kids are involved in a very profound and comprehensive way. Again, relative to the gym question, it's just about open access to the facility. It's not about the scheduled activities to do. So when we do open gyms for kids, when we do things, that like the soccer group, or when we do the rental of facilities, those are all managed and controlled with security lists. And that's why we started to allow those, because there was a high demand for that. The open community access will come in due course, and we'll get there. I've already stated that I do expect Mr. Sheehan back. It's only a matter of the details and working out his first day back. And for that, I'm just waiting to hear. Let's see. I'm going to try to keep going down here. I know there's some more coming. Somebody asked about a town hall next week. If we feel like there's a need for an additional meeting, I'm happy to schedule that, and I'll do my best to put that on the schedule. And I'll take feedback from you. Again, you can always reach out to me, email, or through the info@aswarsaw.org with your thoughts on that and your suggestions. We're happy to receive that. Let's see. Protocol of the board meetings. I'm assuming you're talking about agendas. I'll remind you that I send agendas and the board packet out on the Friday before every board meeting. The board meetings are recorded. They're available here in the parent group on Facebook. You can pop in here and look at the media and the videos, and you'll see the October and November meeting, I think the September meeting as well. So we do try to get that information out to you, make it readily available. If you go back and search for board meeting announcements, you'll see the link to the advanced material folders, and you can review the protocols there. That was what I said earlier. I would not call us terrible local conditions without upper school principal. We are covering. Our administrative team is absolutely wonderful in the way that they're taking care of things. All of our processes are in place. We will be doing a plan to replace IB coordinator now that we have a resignation in hand. And everything that we're doing is on track. We have the schedule for IB exams. The kids are completing their work. Scott Schaffner continues to work with kids this month on the original coverage plan, and that is yielding good results. So everything is going according to plan. We always have backups, and we always help each other when in times of need. And so we're continuing on. Is there any calculation of increase in heating and air conditioning costs? No, it's actually a decrease. And we've already seen in a recent summary of our energy costs that energy costs have gone down for us because of the window replacement. We did a huge window replacement throughout the building, and it is yielding results already. Our actual energy costs have gone down significantly in terms of gas consumption. The windows are amazing, and all of that same glass that's in the windows was used for the courtyard. And so the actual energy utility of that will be excellent in terms of keeping the heat in. And so all of the calculations are there, and we will be net positive on our green energy goals, our sustainability goals, and a reduction of our actual energy consumption, even with the additional spaces. So we're on track to achieve that goal through the use of very good materials and the multi-paned glass. In fact, if you see the overhead photos, you'll see that there was no heat coming through the glass roof, and the snow is still sitting on top of it. So it hasn't melted, and there's been no heat escape. That's testament to, when it's finished, what it will be in terms of a sealed, wonderful learning environment that we can enjoy. In terms of the tender documents, I don't have those obviously in my hands right now. And of course, those are things that the board reviews when it's looking at bidders, and obviously the final decision on that. I will have to talk about whether those documents can be made available. And so, you know, we went through a full tender bidding process and a full value engineering process, which we continue to do on a daily basis in order to compensate for increased costs in one area. We can usually compensate for in another area. And so we have a full team that's dedicated to staying on top of that and staying on top of costs. How more classrooms will be after construction? Well, we're going to have more open collaborative spaces. The general classroom count will remain about the same, but the open collaborative spaces and the additional spaces that can be used for classroom work and for student work will be increased. So we did not plan a master plan to grow as a school. We planned it to match the school to our philosophy of teaching and to the regular needs that were expressed in those focus group meetings, to understand where the challenges were in terms of gathering kids to work on projects, in terms of free and open spaces for more flexible use. We were constrained to our hallways, and what we're looking for is a refresh that will allow us to have the kinds of spaces for additional things above and beyond what we'll have in the classroom. So again, that was the focus of it, and you'll see this come to fruition as we start opening up on the walls to the areas that we've been creating in the closed off areas that's about to come online in the coming months. The costs have been detailed in prior meetings, and updates on that are in the board packets. We can come back with more information on that probably at the next board meeting in February. The board sits down in January at their deep dive to go over a lot of those numbers, but roughly, we're putting about 20+ million into this renovation. That's a 1 in 25 year operation to prepare the school for the future and take a building that was 20+ years old and bringing it up to the next level, and certainly addressing the concerns that had been expressed over the first 5 or 6 years that I was here, and the things that we were most concerned about in the building, the frustrations that we had, and the things that we wanted to address. We always are thinking about plan Bs if upper school principal will not come back. I don't believe that's going to be necessary, but we always have options and things that we are considering in the background for any eventuality, whether that's substituting for a teacher or for an administrative leader. We're always making plans in that regard, and we always have them prepared and ready. As I said, with the DP coordinator, we'll be sharing with you next week the plans that we've been discussing and talking about long before the resignation. So we'll be able to cover this, and we feel confident as a school that we can step up to these challenges as they emerge. In terms of answering the question about the tender, again, I think we had 5 original companies that bid on the project. There were very comprehensive bids and comprehensive process. We have Blair Consulting that was responsible for the technical supervision. And we have the original architect in the building, Anatol Kaczynski, and his team, who did the architectural work and continue on the project for making sure that the technical supervision is done over the construction and renovation. So we are definitely with all the right people at the table. And that kind of answers this question about the companies in the process as well. How many days per week Investors Supervisor is on campus? I know that they have weekly meetings, supervisory meetings that go over everything. And I think the supervisors are here for many, if not most of those. There are delays in the construction schedule. We're capturing some of that data so we can push that out to you. But we did have a delayed glass delivery and a couple of other things that have happened. So we're looking at about, I think, 2 to 3, maybe 4 weeks, slightly behind schedule. We may be able to make some of that up as we get to summer and the transitional work that we're able to do during the vacations. So we'll handle that. As to the costs, again, this has been talked about in board meetings, and we've talked about this at multiple venues. We've worked this into the structure of the school. We did a very good job over the last 5 to 6 years managing money and building reserves. And so partially this is reserves being put into play on this, but it is also taking on debt service because we've also paid off debts from the original construction of the building. So we're ready to take debt back on again, which is very normal in the life cycle of a school. So that debt will take care of the costs associated with construction. And there's always extra costs with contractors, but we're doing our best to manage that and make sure that we're doing good work in keeping costs down and making sure that the project is delivered as expected on or near the time frame that we originally projected. Drugs. I know drugs keeps coming back up. We are working on this. I've been meeting with students on a couple of different bases, and I have secured and confirmed our contract for one of our consultants that is returning. Kevin Fair will be back with us in February. For those who have been with us for a couple of years, you remember he was here last year as well. Well received by the students. Wonderful messaging from Kevin in terms of helping us to understand. Kevin is meeting in advance with a student group that I've brought together to talk about how best to get the message to students and how best to help them understand. And so Kevin is going to meet with them before he arrives in February, and we'll have a schedule and more information out about his visit in the first week of February and what that will look like and how students will have presentations with him. That's not all. We have many other things that are being developed in the background to address the concerns and the issues. We do have vape detectors that we've been testing, and they seem to be successful. They've helped us identify some vaping in the building, and so we are getting some more control on that and more detectors that will be installed throughout the building. But it's really more about education and talking with the kids and understanding the situation in more depth so that we can have kids help us in our messaging to others to really make sure that everybody understands we want this to be a safe space here at ASW and want this not to intrude on our environment. And again, we think we generally have very good control of this. We have a small numbers in terms of those that we have to address. We are ramping up our conversations with parents where we have even the smallest of concerns. We bring those to parents so that we can make sure that we're addressing any issues as we become aware of them. All right. Moving beyond that, will the air condition be done in ASW? Yeah, that's what we're doing. HVAC throughout the building that will have an air conditioning component to it. It'll also have cleaning filters. and it'll be much more efficient with integration with the windows. So we'll have a significantly improved outdoor air inflow into the building in addition to the air conditioning. You might, if you get up a little bit higher, you might see that all the new Daikin aircon units have been installed in the central area of the roof. If you're a drone flyer like me, you're welcome to fly it over the school and you'll see that installation ongoing right now. It's something you can't really see from the ground, so it's something you may have to wait until we share some pictures with you. I think actually on Monday, there may have been one picture there that showed the aircon installation. We also completely replaced our boilers. I hope you saw the picture of the boiler room that's been completely refreshed and is now pumping hot water to everywhere in the building. And so we have a complete refresh of that system. And it's much more efficient as well. So that's another place where we're saving money at the same time. The website clinic shows possibly make a doctor appointment at Varsovska. Well, that's not us. So just so you know, it's not happening here at school. Let's see. Kids, staff, parents. Yeah, I'm asking for that all the time. This is the year that we'll be having a survey about the nurse's office and Warsaw Med. It'll be coming up on the parent survey at the end of this year. At the end of the first 2 years of the contract. That was planned. I think I stated that at a town hall previously. So we'll be looking to help you understand that and make sure that you have plenty of opportunity to give us feedback on those services and give us insight into your needs. And again, we have, as part of the renovation plan, we have new health room facilities that are part of the plan that they'll be moving into sometime later this semester, we hope, when that area gets finished. And so that will make it much more accessible for everyone. Again, it's their form allows that, but they don't schedule them here. They have other facilities for that. So again, I'll double check and confirm that, but that's my belief. And so I'll double check on that, and if I'm incorrect, I'll certainly take responsibility for that. I'm not sure what this is. A picture from the website, prices of consultation. Yeah, that's there, and that's mainly for our community members. In terms of Mr. Lennon, we can state that we'll have a plan for the remainder of this year. Now that he's resigned, that position is in our framework. What we've announced to staff is that we have selected the DP coordinator for next school year. We decided to hire internally, and while this is in advance of what our normal time frame would be for announcing this, we have 2 teachers internally who are going to part-time take this role on for next year. Chris Taylor and Agatha Saritsky, they're going to work together to provide DP coordination for the 24-25 school year. But we will have the plan for replacing DP coordinator for this year, for the remainder of this year, to you next week. We're in final decision mode on that, and we're going to be pulling those details together. I don't know. We changed the school nurse so that we would have a higher opportunity to capitalize on not just medical services here, but also additional outside referral services to support our families and also make sure we have constant and stable staffing. We capitalized on an opportunity. It's not cheaper. We actually made sure we were spending as much or more than we had spent on the staffing we had in place previously. So again, nursing services in Warsaw Med was talked about a long time ago and has been in place now for almost 2 years. And you'll have plenty of opportunity to give us feedback on how you think that's going so that we can do that. Yes, on the energy calculation, once we get closer towards completion of the construction plan, we'll bring out the details on the calculations. The information on the energy consumption to date was shared with staff just earlier this week, and I do hope to include that in an upcoming e-notes section so that I can share that with the community as well. There is some degree of renovation that will start in upper school in the coming months. We do have a plan for that incrementally. It should not impact the stress and the IB. We're not affecting science rooms. This will just be classroom renovations. We'll be putting out information on that when we have more details on that. We don't have the exact dates and timelines yet, but we'll be coming back to that shortly. And identifying how we'll be making sure that we mitigate that and make that work as smoothly as possible. We've learned a lot from doing elementary, and so we tend to build on that knowledge of what we went through there, and we're going to try to make it much easier with additional supports to make sure that everything goes as smoothly as possible. Town halls with a board member. We've had board members many times in town halls, and so we're happy to do that. I think board members like to show up together and make sure that they have plenty of people to be able to listen and talk to you. So we'll understand that in more depth. No, as I said, there are many facets to the investment. It's not just hallways and open spaces. It is about expanding spaces. It's about expanding the cafeteria. It's about HVAC work throughout the building. It's about collaborative spaces. It's about design spaces and workshops and expanding it to the demand that it has on us. It's about enhancing theater workspaces. It's about connectors. It's about expanding library and spaces next to it. It's about giving us additional spaces for working with students needing learning support. And so it really does expand significantly what we have available to us that addresses so many of the concerns that everyone brought to the table when the master planning process was underway. You know, the HVAC is really a significant system and working through the whole thing. Expanding design has been a demand of our student body and the students that are involved in it. And it opens up opportunity to expand that program and continue to add to it. You know, there's just so many things that we get out of this. And so please don't take one thing that I talk about as the only thing. It's a broad master plan. You've seen at some point in time all of the posters that were up in the Hall of Flags that detailed that out. At the gala last year, we had documents out and posters out to show you what the renovation was going to yield for the school and what we were going to add as a result of it. So please know that there's lots of things there. And in terms of answering the question about use of spaces, we're still defining that. We're only in a temporary process right now. There are many spaces that will be available for doing all of these kinds of activities, and you'll be part of the process. I'm assuming this is a staff member. You'll be part of the process to help define this and make sure we have the right mix of what we need to be doing with the spaces that we'll have available to us, which doesn't decrease, it only increases. Everything that we have increases in terms of availability to us and the things that we can do with it. Is it too late to discuss about substitute next week? No, not at all. We're right on schedule. We already have the draft of mock exam schedule so that we'll be able to get that done as would normally be the case. Classes are going on as normal and getting ready for exams and getting ready for their processes. All of that is on track, and everyone is responding to that. Again, I'm still hearing about Warsaw Med here. I'll look into that. I'm going to have to get back to you because I need to check in more depth what the concern is and what's happening. Filters do not reduce temp. I'm not sure what you're referring to there. We actually will have active AC. So that's the Daikin units. It'll actually be pushing through the building. The actual thermostats that are going in demonstrate that. And we are getting that ready. It's too early to say about the handprints. We're looking at ways to preserve them, but there is painting that goes on an ongoing basis. And it was inevitable that painting would have to be done at some point as we refresh walls on a cyclical basis. But we're looking at a method for preserving that and keeping that in some way while we do that work. And we'll come back and let you know what our plan is there to make sure that we're still valuing those things. But anything on walls like that it does have a lifespan and does have a time frame, because we do still have to refresh things, and schools keep growing and they keep moving on. So but we will look at a way in which we can preserve that so that it can still be seen that we had this at some point in time, and we'll create potentially a gallery of the handprints. Plus, we're running out of space. I mean, the reality is we're going to have more and more classes, and we're going to need more and more space for the handprints, which is a valued tradition, and I want to make space for that as well. But we do want to also preserve the historical ones. My daughter's handprints up there, I want to preserve that as much as anybody. And so we will come up with a plan for how we can preserve those in print, so that we can continue to grow as a school and continue to have space for each graduating class. We're on a schedule for the renovation. And so again, we think we can do exams without implications to them. The kids are doing well. We're managing some of the issues. There's no way to postpone or do all of this renovation in just a summer period of time. We knew that going into this when we saw the original plan, when we saw the schedule, when we saw the bids. So it's something we have to do in order to set the school up for the next for the next 25 years. Let's see. We advertised the position internally and interviewed candidates here, and that's what the decision for the IB coordinator was undertaken. So we were able to do that in the normal recruiting process without going outside. We sometimes hire internally with an internal post before we go outside to seek a person for the position. In this case, we found the right match for what we want to be doing in 24, 25 and beyond. And we think that this is a good option and will be well received. I recognize that in 21 years, this has not been faced before. There are things here that have created a bit of a perfect storm. And we also haven't experienced a war in 21 years, and we didn't experience COVID in 21 years. And we took on those challenges, faced them all, and we are very much happy to take on this challenge as well. This challenge is doable. We have an ability to handle this, and we're very happy to be able to keep things going strong and serving students as our top priority as we move forward with things that are necessary in the life cycle of a school. When you take into account 50 or 100 years, there have to be refreshes and renovations. Every school faces this. There are at least 5 schools in CISA that are undergoing similar renovation projects right now. And so please know that we're doing this because it's the time we have to do it in order to meet the cost parameters and the ability to set the school up for the future. This was all thought about and discussed and went in depth with the board over multiple years before we made the final decision to move forward. We knew it would be challenging. We knew it'd be some of the toughest work we've ever done, but it is hard, and it is something we can do. It is sad that we have crises, but we have crises around the world. We all are facing more and more challenges. There are things all around us, and that has an impact on us. That has an impact on all of us and our well-being. As Ashley and Rueben pointed out, we all want to be kind to each other. We want to be human beings. We're all not perfect, but it is what we need to do. We're going to keep working on this. We'll keep responding to you. We'll keep answering the questions. I'm not sure what I was rude about. Again, I apologize if there's some misunderstanding here that someone has written. Well, thank you for that comment. Yeah, we do think so too. And we do like to look to our internal staff when we have positions available to them. Okay. I think I've just about covered it for now. If you'll allow me, I'll break away now that we're coming up on the 9 o'clock hour. For those who have stuck with us for this entire time, I thank you for your resilience and your willingness to participate with us. I will, again, info@aswarsaw.org or me directly if you would still like to have another town hall in short order, and I'll schedule that accordingly. Look for information from us on the board opportunity as well. I'll be talking with Sarah about that tomorrow and getting that scheduled. Again, we all do our best, and we are all trying very hard to master the challenges that we all face, whatever they may be. And there are other challenges that are likely on the horizon that we're still going to have to take on together. We are ASW, we are Bounce Back, we are resilient. We will continue to take this on, and we will work hard on it. And as I said in my retirement letter, I am fully engaged in helping to work these things through for the next 19 months until I'm able to retire in June. I will see these projects through and make sure that we get them done on time and on schedule and in the best way possible. We'll protect students and the learning environment every step of the way. We have a wonderful team here. And I know that we'll rally and we'll come together. It's a great school. I'm fully committed to it. And I hope for the opportunity to celebrate some of that with many or most of you at our upcoming gala. Again, I'm not comparing this to COVID and war. I'm just trying to say that we have all faced challenges together. Please don't conflate my words as saying I'm trying to compare one thing to another. I am just trying to say that we have all faced challenges together, and we can face this one too. That's my only message. And if you found that to be rude, I apologize. That was not my intent. It really is just about saying we have a sense of community. I still feel that sense of community despite the challenges that we're all facing. And we will take on these challenges one by one and come to the best conclusion that we can. But please know your kids are taken care of here every day. They are receiving great experiences from a powerful and wonderful staff. And we really value you and your comments and your questions. And we'll continue to do our best to try to answer them in due course and make sure that we stay on the right track. So thank you, everyone, for joining us, for staying with us tonight. And I'm going to send you off now to a wonderful rest of your evening. Thank you, everyone, and goodbye.